Okay. Okay, so welcome. I think we can just go around and introduce everybody. Honestly, we have a small enough group right now. I assume people have already told us that they weren't going to come if they aren't able to because people have class conflicts and such. But they're going to see this at some point as well. So I'm Elena. If you don't know me, that's kind of strange. I'm the co-executive director of the Cal Poly chapter. Don't have any design skills really, but I am in a design class. And last year I was outreach director, which is like the most PM-ish position on board. Anna, you want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Anna. I'm the director of finance this year. I'm a second year CS major. I don't have a lot of design experience, but I really like design, and I'm leading Design Bootcamp this year, so designers will be working with me. And yeah, I'm really excited to learn from y'all. I think it'll be fun.
I'm Tim, third year CS major. I'm the director of outreach. So I worked with the nonprofits this summer, talking to them, understanding what they needed, and kind of coming up with project ideas. Elena and Anna helped me a good amount this summer too, so they're pretty familiar with the projects as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these projects and getting it started.
Yeah, and then we could just introduce everybody. Hari, you want to go?
Sure. Okay, I'm Hari. I'm a fourth year CS major, and I guess this year I'm joining as a PM. I currently am doing like a lot of other things that are like code related, like another internship. So kind of wanted something where I was like less away from the code and kind of more towards the product side of everything. So hopefully this will be a cool experience to learn stuff about that.
Awesome. Anybody else want to go? Otherwise, we'll just keep cold calling on people.
I can go. I'm Ella. I'm a fourth year psychology major, and I'm a PM this year. It's my first year joining, and I'm involved in a lot of different things, but next quarter I'm doing a user experience research internship with a professor on campus. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
I'll go next. My name is Barrett. I'm a third year graphic communication major, be a designer. Yeah. I just got a cat this weekend.
Wait, that's so exciting. How old is it?
What'd you name it?
He's 6 months old. I named him Theo Katzman, a musician.
Nice.
I'm Mandy. I'm a second year graphic communication major, and I'm joining as a designer.
Awesome. Okay, so again, this is going to be PMs and designers. This is not how it's going to be every time. We will split up between PMs and designers, but there are there's a lot of overlap between the different roles. And then, as you guys already know, you will be doing about half of the dev bootcamp, but PMs will do different dev workshops than the designers. So there's going to be a lot of moving around. However, we'll always start in the same Zoom meeting, so you guys don't need to worry about that at all. We're gonna just handle it on our end, because otherwise that is too many Zoom links to keep track of. So topic for today is how to talk to nonprofit partners. This may seem like a very either broad title or basic, but I will say we've learned a lot from the past few years of talking with these people and learning about their organizations. And so it's really important, since you guys will be communicating with them directly, that you understand how to do this and how we approach our relationships with our nonprofit partners. So we are going to get started just with values.
Yeah, so just to start off, we really wanted to reiterate our values because they're basically the basis for everything that you should be doing and interacting with these nonprofit partners. So the first one that we have is community. So Hack for Impact, we have a community of friends, which is our members in our organization, but we also hope to foster community with our nonprofit partners as well, and keeping that lasting relationship going. In addition, we have transparency. So you need to be honest with your nonprofit partners that you will be communicating with, whether that's a very difficult conversation. It's important that we're honest with them and have open communication. And the last thing that we need to be aware of is diversity and inclusion. We need to recognize that all of the nonprofit partners that we're working with are very diverse in their skill sets, as well as the people that we're talking with in general. So we need to be aware of their situations and just recognize everything that they have to do as well. So yeah, just to reiterate those values, keep these in mind when you're communicating with your nonprofit partners at all times.
So we just want to go over very generally your role, and theoretically you know which one you have, and like you've heard about it, you know what's expected of you, but you may not know how you interact with all the other team members. So I'll start with PMs. So PMs are the liaison between the nonprofit reps and the devs, and you are responsible for creating a PRD, which you will learn about later in bootcamp, and doing requirements engineering. And then you will meet with nonprofit reps to understand their problem and discuss potential solutions, come up with a potential solution with them. And then you also gain feedback from the nonprofit reps about the solution idea over the course of the development cycle. And then designers, on the other hand, work with the nonprofit partners again, but they develop highly accessible and usable interfaces. You do user research, lead user research, conduct surveys to develop the most effective designs for the end users and the nonprofit partners. End users are not always the nonprofit themselves, so that's something to keep in mind. And then also conduct and receive feedback from usability surveys with the nonprofit partners and end users. And then as the development cycle goes on, recognize that your design will change. It is very rare that we get all of our requirements and designs set in the beginning. You have to be expected to change, and as my UX professor says right now, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. And then I also want to just touch very briefly on hierarchy. So all of our development teams have a flat hierarchy. The difficult part of being a PM is that you have absolutely no authority over the devs. Like, and this is in industry as well. Devs have a manager, an engineering manager, and PMs have a PM manager. I don't know what they're called, but they have a manager. It is a flat hierarchy. Product needs and product requirements and engineering requirements, if done correctly, they should align. So there shouldn't be much conflict. However, PMs, you are not the team lead. We had team leads last year and we split up the roles to avoid that this year because we want a more distributed flat hierarchy. So PMs, the difficult part of your job is you have to get people to listen to you, even though you have absolutely no authority over them. So working with other people is very important. Same with designers. Yes, you lead the usability research and you make the designs, but you are not in charge of the devs who are implementing your design. You work with them. They do not work for you. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah. Anybody have any questions? Cool. Moving on.
So talk about a little bit about our communication and the expected amount. So we've already talked to the nonprofits. When we've partnered with them, we've all made an agreement that we will be meeting pretty frequently. So PMs are expected to lead meetings with their nonprofit reps. So there will always be at least one point of contact for each nonprofit. And so you're going to meet with them every other week, get feedback on the project, and make sure that the product is still on track and what it's supposed to be like, and make sure that they don't have anything else that they want to change, which is very likely that they might want to change something, because that kind of happens a lot. And then designers should be also present at these meetings as well. They should be getting all this feedback as well. But designers will also be leading surveys. So each nonprofit should have at least a few team members that We'll answer your surveys, give you feedback in terms of usability and accessibility on your interfaces. And so the designers are expected to lead that, but the product manager should definitely be aware of those as well. And then also from nationals, which Elena is leading this committee, the social impact committee. So we are, from my understanding, they're trying to get a better measurement of how much impact these products are making. So we're asking teams to get feedback at the midpoint and then also when they pass the project along, and then 6 months and then every year, but we'll get more details on that later down the road. But yeah, PMs are responsible for these surveys and reporting back to nationals.
Yeah, and I will give you all much more info about this. We are making these forms right now, and Cal Poly, I think, will actually be the first chapter to implement this. But this is going to be really, really exciting because we're, for the first time at a national level, going to see, are people using our products? How long do they use them? Why do they stop using them? Like, figure out what we can do better. And so all the data that you guys are going to be collecting, and designers, this also involves you too. We are breaking it up between like PM success metrics, design success metrics, technical success metrics. This is going to be a very large scale effort to figure out how we're doing. And then also because we are a 501c3, we need data to get funding. So you guys will be collecting the data that funds all of the soon to be 14 Hack for Impact chapters across the country, which I think is pretty cool. Okay, emails. So your job is to answer any and all questions from the nonprofit client. I literally got an email from somebody like last week of a project that I worked on last year. So they will still contact you years out. Your job is to redirect their questions to the correct person if that is not you. But you always have a responsibility to respond, especially even in the case that you graduate and you get an email from somebody, your job is to respond and redirect them to the Cal Poly email. It is very important that we keep communication with them and we don't leave them in the dark. So this is, kind of a given, but please respond in a professional manner. We are a club, but we are also a chapter of a 501c3, and we are working on building our reputation. And we can't do that if we are acting as students. We want to appear as professional as possible in both our products and our communication. Check your email daily, respond within 24 hours from partners, and just make sure you are updating your partners frequently with any changing logistics, especially timeline, especially if it isn't positive. Better to get that out early rather than later.
Yeah, and so we also wanted to touch on Zoom, which is likely where all communication with the nonprofit will be happening that is not via email, especially this year. We don't see anything happening in person in the foreseeable future. So that being said, you have to be aware that the nonprofit partner that you're talking with may not know how to use Zoom. So that being said, you have to make sure that in any email that you send to them, you can't just send them a Zoom link. You have to create a Zoom link. And if they don't know how to use Zoom, make sure you include instructions about how to use that link. Obviously that's, I'm sure you can find it on zoom.com, just the instructions for downloading and whatnot, but you have to be aware that that is not just, it's a very probable possibility that these nonprofits may not know how to use online services like that. In addition, please turn your camera on if you can, if that's a possibility for you. I think it makes the interaction between the nonprofit and us much more social. It makes it a lot easier to talk to people when you're not just staring at a name on a Zoom screen. And that being said, the final thing that I'd just like to touch on is that you have to come prepared with your questions, with any conversational topics that you need to discuss with your nonprofit. You should have those prepared beforehand, and you should be respectful of their time above everything else, because we're designing this for them and they have a lot of things going on as well. So just make sure that you're very prepared for all of the discussions that you will be having with them.
Okay, and we will cover this a little bit later with the Social Impact 101 talk in the future that will be given to all members, but I really just wanted to preface this a little bit. So we say nonprofit first approach. We have to recognize that we are not experts in the nonprofit's problem space. Yes, we are providing a service for them, but we work with them. We do not work for them. We're not doing them a huge favor. We are not saviors. We work with them. We are colleagues in this relationship, and we treat our interactions with them in that way. They don't owe us anything for us engaging in this agreement with them. It is a partnership, and that if you've noticed, we say nonprofit partner. That is a very intentional language choice. We say partner rather than client because we work with them, not for them. And you have to recognize that Hack for Impact sits in kind of a weird space. So we come in for a few months to like several nonprofits with different teams. We don't know about their problem. We try to get a, okay understanding of it. But we don't know. They've been working in this domain for however many years. So it's our job to take every step possible to learn as much as we can in the short amount of time, but recognize that we're not experts. And then also just know that they will request changes. So your job is to accommodate all of those and make sure that the end product, the end design, what have you, is exactly what they need in that moment. Requirements will change. We literally had a nonprofit that we accepted change their thing after we accepted them, like in a matter of weeks. So like this will happen, and you have to be accommodating to all those requests and being able to communicate those to the devs. And then also your job is not just to focus on the problem, meaning the problem that you are solving for. Your job is to understand the nonprofit, their mission, and all of the problems that they face, this entire ecosystem of how their organization operates, so that you can create the best solution that takes into account all those things. When you get so focused on that narrow solution, you can miss out on a lot of details that are really important. And again, we do turn down several nonprofits each year. And so we want to ensure that the nonprofits that we choose are getting the best experience with us, and that the products that we create will be long lasting. So this is very, very important. Anybody have any questions on that? Sorry, this is like a lot of words today. It won't be like this in the future. Cool.
Yeah, so basically building off of what Elena said about not just going for a solution, we need to get to know our nonprofits. So we just generated a few questions. This is a few of the many things that you should be asking your nonprofit before you even get to talking about the product. You should be invested about learning about your nonprofit. You should know about their mission, how long they've been established, are there branches or chapters? These are just a few of the things that come to mind when you're talking to your nonprofit, just to start. One, it makes, it's important for you to know, but also it makes them realize that we are invested in building the best product for them possible. So you need to be aware of everything that's going on with your nonprofit in terms of their origins, all of that. So make sure you're asking those questions before starting to come up with any kind of solution or anything like that. Oh, and by the way, we will be sharing this presentation at the end, so don't feel like you have to write all these questions and stuff down.
Yeah.
Sweet. So these are more of the project specific questions. So kind of, going off what Elena and Anna were just talking about, we really do need the context of who we're building this product for, and that whole scenario. Like, what's the problem that we're working on? Who's going to use this? When are they going to use it? What are they going to use it for? What scenario? Are they going to be using it on their phone? Are they going to be using it on their desktop? But these questions are kind of, you'll get a chance to really talk to your nonprofit towards the end of boot camp, in between boot camp and winter quarter. And so for PMs, you'll be asking these type of questions to get a good PRD set before development starts. And you'll confirm that the PRD is on the lines of what they're expecting too. So hopefully that can be a pretty good guide going forward in terms of expectations of your product. But then again, they could also just change at any point. So just be ready for that. But yeah, these are some of the questions, you know, who, what, how, why, those type of questions. But yeah.
Okay, and then here are just a few resources, and I have a question for all of you because I'm not entirely sure, which is something I feel like I should know. Have you guys used Notion? Have we given you access to Notion?
I've used Ethan's like dev page, like the
Okay.
one that he shared with us, like for the JS tutorials. But aside from that, no.
Okay, so we use Notion for absolutely everything. So I would bookmark it because any type of resources that you need, you can find in there. You can also like stalk other chapters if you want, see what they're working on. Like some people just have their meeting notes public for their director boards. You can literally find anything. So I'll learn about the podcast. It's in there too. So all of these resources are on Notion. The Social Impact Committee created a guide for how to talk to nonprofit partners, which is basically a lot of the things that we covered today. And then there are national boards working for product, working for design, and engineering. And so those three groups are creating sets of resources for all the different chapters to use for PM, design, and engineering respectively. So I can, let's see, let's look at what this is, because why not? If it will load. So there is a lot in here for like first client call, project performance assessment. We're going to be talking about a lot of these things, but please note that you should be able to find all these things in here and you should be using them. People have put a lot of time into creating these resources and they have a lot of really good experience. So take advantage of it because there's a lot of good stuff in here. And also get really comfortable with Notion because we use it for everything. And I assume we will ask you to take notes eventually using it with the nonprofit because that's what we are moving toward. All of our stuff is in there. Okay.
How do we,
Now,
sorry,
yeah.
how do we get access to that?
Yeah,
Notion?
so I'm just gonna
It's-
copy this really quick and see if you guys can access this. I'm just gonna send
I'm
it in
pretty
the
sure
chat
it's
for
public.
now.
I think you can. There
Yeah,
are private pages, but these should be public.
Yeah.
I tried
Yeah.
to go to the H4I endpoint and it said I needed access to get them.
Need access.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
We
you can
will
get
work
on-
on that then. Oh,
You can
sorry,
get
say
on
that again.
like the linked page. And
We
then
will have to figure out how to add everybody in a efficient manner because I'm not sure what the best way to do that is when we are onboarding like 30 people.
Yeah.
However, I'm sure all the other chapters who are in the semester system and finished their recruitment a few weeks earlier than us, they've already done this. So I will make sure to do that. But in any case, Notion is like where you can find everything, learn to love it. It's kind of hard to like learn as a first time user, I'd say, but like it honestly makes things so easy to organize. Everything looks really pretty. Ethan is like the king of Notion at this point. So if you need help, ask him. Actually, no, you can ask me too. He has a lot on his plate right now. But yeah. Okay. Questions beyond that. I will work on getting the Notion stuff set up. Any questions about talking to nonprofit partners? Also just general role expectations. We can talk about that too if anybody has questions. If not,
I have a question about
Yeah.
the PRD specifically. Like, so are we just expected to deliver a PRD or is there going to be a product roadmap that goes with that?
We're still working on that. At the very minimum, there'll definitely be a PRD.
Mhm.
But if it, time permits and all that stuff, we will be doing product roadmaps as well. That's
Okay,
definitely
what are the expectations out of like the PRD generally? Are we still going to be focusing on like extensibility for like you said like you were going to be following up like for example 6 months after the project is completed. So I guess what's there to cover as far as extensibility in the PRD that's not covered by the roadmap?
Yeah, so we will first we will cover like creating a PRD, like that's gonna be basically what you do during boot camp. Devs are doing like this sample project, but PMs, because you have to get that PRD done before development starts, ideally you guys are gonna be working on it pretty soon. Right now, that is not an included section of it, I don't think. Ideally, you design everything to be as long-term as possible, give them as much control, because that's the other thing. I should note this. Never promise your nonprofit that we can provide maintenance long-term, because we can't. Like, we don't have the resources to do that. If they request a feature, we will always try our best. That's why everybody's using the same tech stack now, to make that a lot easier. But we can't promise that. So make sure whenever you're saying like, oh, I'll look into it, or yes or no, make sure you know before you actually say yes or no. Yeah, Tim, do you want to add something on that?
Yeah, I also just I have like a document in terms of just like agreements that I kind of spoke with them about too earlier this summer. So I'll send that later on too, just so you kind of understand, the expectations of that stuff. We actually have one of our nonprofit reps actually have been attending the boot camp. He's been trying to get familiar with the MERN stack so he can actually keep it going after. So
yeah, and for maintenance, the surveys are like a very new thing. We are creating them right now. We're formulating our process for doing that. So in the past, there hasn't been anything in that in a PRD. We also haven't done product roadmaps before. We're considering adding them this year. So those are all great questions, but I have to be honest that we are still formulating how exactly we want this to work. But we are very grateful that we have PMs who are going to be specifically focusing on these things and are able to make that happen a lot easier than in the past. So we will keep you guys updated as we figure that stuff out. We're talking with nationals and other chapters to figure out what works best for us. Anybody else have any questions? I'm very sorry, that was just a lot of information today.
good.
Yeah, looks like it. So we will provide you these slides. And then again, all these resources are on Notion. We'll also probably put the link to these slides on Notion somewhere. So I will look into getting everybody access to Hack for Impact, just like the normal Hack for Impact pages, because I think you all should be able to access that even if you're not on board. Because we want you to write your notes in that at least. So I will look into that and let you guys know, but we will provide all these resources later on. But I think that's it. So you guys are free to go. If you have any other questions,